Continuing on with my year of Star Wars reviews, we're going to be looking at Rogue One, a Star Wars story. Rogue One was directed by Gareth Edwards and takes place between the events of Episode 3 and Episode 4, following the events of the rebels that looked for the plans to the Death Star. And this was a movie that really intrigued me when it was coming out, it being kind of a direct prequel to the original Star Wars, but it was also the first Star Wars film to be in this anthology series that they were going to do with the starting of this movie and continue that series with, movies like Solo. Yeah, there's not any other anthology movies really in the works right now, but this was going to be the one that started it off, and people were excited for this movie. I was interested and kind of, concerned it being something a little bit different. How was I going to care about the characters in this, since this was basically going to be a one-off movie? And honestly, there's plenty of people around that absolutely love this film and think it's one of their favorite Star Wars movies to date. Also, one of their favorite movies in this new era of Star Wars. And I'm not in the same boat. This movie was really disappointing, and recently just watching it, it has gotten better over time, but I still just don't find myself caring that much. So anyway, let's get started with really my positives I have with the film. Now, my first positive with this film has to be with its look and its cinematography. This looks so gorgeous. This is probably the best looking Star Wars movie to date. It is absolutely beautiful to look at. It also keeps in tone with the original Star Wars, which it was trying to mimic that time period of just making everything look dirty and lived in, and you really get that while watching this film. And it also helps that, we see familiar things that we've seen in the original trilogy, but now in just glorious HD and just done with new practical effects and new different special effects, and it makes for a beautiful looking movie. And on top of that, the cinematography as well is absolutely gorgeous. This is, again, as I said, probably the best looking Star Wars film to date. It looks absolutely amazing, and some of my favorite stuff in this film is definitely when it comes to a lot of the spaceships. When we look at our Star Destroyers or our Death Stars, they look almost real. Like, it looks so good on screen, and the different areas they go to in this world, as well as just the costuming. We get to see the original stormtroopers, and, they all look dirty and lived in, and it looks absolutely beautiful. That's really what this film does really well, is just making this world feel real and lived in. Now, there are a couple of set pieces I really do love in this film as well, such as like a lot of the fight scenes, a lot of the gunfights, and of course the third act of the movie, which everybody really talks about that as being a real positive with the film, and it really is. It's an entertaining, almost type of heist, and that's really entertaining, and it is very emotional as well. And I'll probably get into more of that kind of in my negatives, because I do have some problems with the third act overall. But overall, the third act is really, really entertaining, with some great action, some great drama going on, and just the set pieces in general are just amazing. Like, we get to see two Star Destroyers basically collide into each other, and it's glorious. The movie knows it's glorious because it's all in slow motion, and it looks really, really good on screen. I also love the moments we get in the film where we get to see the destruction that the Death Star causes from the ground level. Now, we kind of got this in Force Awakens with Starkiller Base, but really we get to see a more gritty version of that. The Death Star isn't completely constructed yet. It's still got a little ways to go with what what its capabilities are. And so we see just how little destruction it can do, but also still on a massive scale. And those moments in the film are honestly really horrifying to watch. It's like watching an atom bomb go off, which is probably what they were inspired by. And it looks really good on the film. It looks beautiful, as I will be saying beautiful a lot in this review, but it is just really good stuff right here. Also, we can't talk about this movie without talking about the Darth Vader scene. I'm talking about the second time we see Darth Vader in the movie. I think it's such an entertaining scene, and a lot of people say it makes up for the very limited amount of screen time he had in episode 3. And it's overall just a really fun sequence that is very tense and just a lot of fun as well. Also, I love the over-the-top acting we get from our main villain of the movie, Krennic, played by Ben Mendelsohn, who... Ben Mendelsohn, to me, is just a guy that loves going over the top, and he does in this movie, and it makes him such an entertaining presence in the film. Whereas his character, I can't really... There's just not that much interesting about him. I think it makes up for it with just this really entertaining performance from him. And also the music with the film. Michael Giacchino did the score for this movie. Now, I've heard some people say that they don't particularly like his score in this film, and I think it's absolutely beautiful. There's some beautiful new tracks on here that I don't think we would have gotten with John Williams. I mean, John Williams is a great composer, the greatest composer for movies ever, but he definitely brings a different style with this. I'm talking about Michael Giacchino. He does something different, but close enough to home with this film. And now, with all that said, there's plenty of positives with this film and things I really do like. The solid third act, the look of the film, some of the characters and the actors playing them. But now we have to get into my negatives with this film. And honestly, when it comes to this movie, I'm just really bored watching this film. It's very slow, and also it's a mess of a film. Now, if anybody knows about this film, in fact, everybody should know about this film, that it went through quite a rough spot. Things had to be reshot, reworked. The third act of the movie was completely reworked. I think everybody remembers the trailers for this movie and then watching the film and being like, none of those scenes were in the movie, or at least they changed things. And it really feels like that during this movie, especially during the first act. I think the first act and the third act got really reworked, and you can really tell there's just no pace at all. We're just kind of thrown into these characters, introducing them, and the movie just kind of meanders for a while, and it's kind of bothersome that there's not much going on within these first couple of moments throughout the first act of the film, and it does bother me a lot. Also, when it comes to the characters, the movie just doesn't give me much of a reason to really care about them. We don't get enough time with them, and the movie itself is just so self-serious, trying to make this moment right before the original Star Wars so epic and so grand that it just kind of falls flat and makes something that should be so simple so complex, and just that stuff just kind of bothers me. I'm not particularly interested in any of the characters, even with our main character, Jin Urso, and her relationship with her father, which there are some moments in there where I'm like, okay, the movie's kind of got me here with their relationship, but we don't really get to see anything of their relationship really flourish throughout the film. And speaking of a character that's very just there's not much to him, is the Saul Guerrera character, who really, watching the original trailers for this movie and then watching the movie, it really feels like they had him playing a different character, and then through reshoots they changed the character, because there's moments where like he's bald and then he's not bald, and it just feels like there's a bunch of stuff in this movie that's a combination of reshoots and what was originally filmed, and it just feels rather messy as well. Also, there's a lot of fan service in this film. Now, some fan service doesn't bother me. I mean, you're going to have it no matter what. I mean, Force Awakens had fan service as well, but this just feels so deliberate. It feels so random at times. Like, we see the two guys that were in the bar on Tatooine in the first movie, and it's like, why are they there? Like, why do we need them there? I mean, that's more of a nitpick I have with the film, but like, it feels very much like, oh, let's put this there. It feels like a fan film at some points, even, which, I mean, I hate saying that because there are people that really genuinely like this film, and I can understand there's plenty of stuff to like with this film. I just can't get behind any of the characters or the drama that happens in the film. And that's when we get to our third act, which, as I said, is beautifully executed. But when things start happening to our main characters, I don't really know them, and I can't really care about them when everything goes wrong. It just feels, I feel so disconnected from everything in this film, is what I'm trying to say, and it just makes the film so disappointing. Guys, I really do hate bashing on this film because, as I said, I know there's a ton of people that love this film, and I think it's great that people can sit down and watch this movie and love it and say it's one of their favorite Star Wars movies, but I just, I can't, I'm just so bored, and the good stuff in it doesn't make up for the stuff that I feel the movie is lacking, especially in terms of character development and pace, and it just feels like a very messy film, and I hate saying this, but this is my least favorite Star Wars movie. Unless you count the Clone Wars animated film, which I don't really count that exactly, but in terms of like the main entry films, this is my least favorite. I mean, even when it comes to the prequels, which aren't great films by any mean, but I still find entertainment in them, in their awkwardness, their weirdness, but this film just feels so self-serious. But that's really all I've got to say about this review. I don't want it to be too long, but I do want to give my thoughts and what I really feel about this film, and it's, again, just disappointment. I'm going to give Rogue One, A Star Wars Story, a 5 out of 10. Well, guys, I really hate giving it that rating, but I'm just not really interested in this film. It has gotten better, but it is a better 5 out of 10 than it was when I originally watched this film. But anyway, guys, I want to thank you for watching this review. I hope you enjoyed it, at least, even if you didn't agree with me. I don't want to make anybody mad that I didn't like this film, but I want to give my thoughts on why I didn't particularly care for this film, and that's completely fine. We can not have the same opinion, but we can still respect each other's opinions anyway. But anyway, guys, thanks for watching, and as always, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you guys in the next review.